Lots to talk about with Vikings moves made in the second half of the week. Every day in free agency is a waiting game. It's like kids playing double dutch, just waiting to jump in. And yesterday, the Vikings agreed to a deal with defensive lineman Dean Lowry, formerly of the Green Bay Packers, for 2 years, $8.5 million. 7-year vet out of Northwestern, all with Green Bay. And I don't really know what to make of this move. If this is a depth signing, cool. However, if no free agent additions are going to be made on the defensive line beyond Dean Lowry, if this is it, then you're better off with Khyiris Tonga being a starter. And I think Tonga is better coming off the bench. But if Lowry was brought in to be the Dalvin Tomlinson replacement, then, I don't know, man. I think that's a major downgrade. We're talking about a D-line that already needed significant help. That's even with Tomlinson playing. But I'm not going to make any assumptions here, being so early in free agency and before any depth charts are announced. And I think that we as fans, rightfully so, we get caught up in starters, the immediate help. However, every team, every offseason, they got to fill out the rest of the roster with depth. And maybe that's what the Dean Lowry signing is. Or maybe not. Because the last 4 years in Green Bay, he started 61 out of 66 games, a total of 64 games played overall. In that time span, 8.5 sacks, 10 TFLs, 20 quarterback hits. Now, compare that to Tomlinson's last 4 years, same amount of starts as Lowry, 3 less games played overall, 3.5 more sacks, double the TFLs, nearly double the quarterback hits. That's a step down. Now, again, if the thought is Dean Lowry for the sake of rotation, then great. And if the Vikings are still looking for the Tomlinson replacement, there are 2 players out there that I think will be a nice stopgap. Guys like Shelby Harris and the guy that I'm really campaigning for, Calais Campbell. Just imagine Harrison Phillips, Calais Campbell, and let's say Kalijah Kancey on the defensive line. Dude, that'd be so sick. And in other news, Harrison Smith takes a significant pay cut to stay with the Vikings, resulting in nearly $7 million in cap savings. He'll be a primary factor in the Brian Flores defense. And maybe it's just me here, but I don't remember seeing last year the free-roaming Harrison Smith with Ed Donatel, the guy that would creep up to the line of scrimmage, giving different looks. Like, he was always playing center field. At least Mike Zimmer stayed using Hitman as a Swiss Army knife, and I do think under Flores that we can expect, as fans, we can expect to see some flashes of the Harrison Smith of old, but it says a lot about the Vikings, voted number 1 in player surveys, that when you treat your employees as you should, they are, after all, your number 1 asset, that you're more likely, not all the time, but you're more likely to have players willing to come back for less compared to a team, say, like Washington, who finished last in the surveys because your players are happier. Whereas the Commanders, oh my God, the toilet bowl that they are, it's like, all right, if I'm going to play for you, you're going to pay me. And I'm always going to support the players first. Get what you're worth at all times. But when Harrison Smith, a player of his pedigree, one of the best safeties of this generation, can go to any team he wants with ease, says, you know what? Yeah, I'll take a pay cut and stay here. That to me says a lot about the culture out in Minnesota. Now then, at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, yesterday, Za'Darius Smith was to have $5 million locked in. So now instead of $12 million in savings with a trade or release, that number drops to $7 million in cap, with a dead cap hit of $8.3 million versus $3.3. 3 p.m. Central Standard Time hit yesterday, and no news on Z. To me, this means one of 2 options. Either A, the Vikings plan on keeping Z on the roster for 2023, or B, they're in trade talks with another team that's requiring some elbow grease in negotiations, and I hope it's the latter because Z doesn't appear to want to be in Minnesota. He put his home up for sale not too long ago and also made that goodbye-ish post on Twitter. But if he doesn't want to be here, then all right, don't have an awkward locker room. And if they aren't planning on Z being on the team next year, then clearly they prefer trade compensation over cap savings. Otherwise, he would have been cut yesterday before the 3 p.m. deadline. But here's to a resolution on Za'Darius Smith, Dalvin Cook, and hey, maybe another signing or two today.